Hello my loves, so this is the start of my first reading vlog, which is very exciting because I've really been trying to get back into reading recently. You can tell from the title of this reading vlog what I will be reading in this reading vlog, and that will be A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas. This won't be my first Sarah J Maas book. I have read Throne of Glass, however, I read that literally years ago to the point where I don't remember what the actual storyline is. And I unfortunately don't have that book anymore. I unhauled it and kind of semi-regretting that because I would love to try and read it again, but yeah, I can't really remember what her writing style was like, literally remember nothing. And this series has been all over TikTok. It's one of those book talk books that everybody's ranting and raving about. Same with Song of Achilles, which I will be reading because I have it. I've just been putting it off a little bit because I know it's going to destroy me, but that's not what this reading vlog is. This reading vlog is of A Court of Thorns and Roses. If you are curious, if you haven't watched my previous video, I am also currently reading The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. I am, look at my penguin bookmark, I am about pretty much halfway through. Getting through this kind of slowly, but I am really enjoying it. So I'm not really rushing this one, I'm kind of just taking this at my own pace. But yeah, I kind of just want to now I'm in the mood to just lay down for a bit and try and get into a nice book. And I haven't read a fantasy in so long, hence why I started reading The Hobbit. But a YA fantasy, it's been a while, but I have heard that this really shouldn't be classed as YA fantasy because it's a bit raunchy, so we will see how this goes. I really love the cover. I preferred this cover to the previous cover because I have actually bought this book before and never read it, and I unhauled it, and here we are, I've spent money on it again. So so what is the time currently? So it is 5:36, and you know, I think it's time that we start. And to get me in the mood of reading A Court of Thorns and Roses, I have found a Spotify playlist, and the description of the playlist is quite amusing, I'm not going to lie to you. Instrumental playlist for fairy morn. In brackets, tread lightly. So, but the first song in this playlist is The Flower Garden from Howl's Moving Castle. And if you didn't know, which you probably don't, I don't think I've ever said it before, Howl's Moving Castle is my favourite book of all time. I've read it twice. I usually reread it this time of year, so I will probably be reading it again at some point. And it's also one of my favourite movies. But anyway, I've been rambling. I think it's about time to start this book. initial thoughts while I make myself a cup of tea. Alexa, stop. Literally, I've only just read the first chapter, so like the first 10 pages, and like I'm intrigued. Definitely getting that YA writing style for sure, and I'm intrigued by the character, and I don't even think I know her name yet, which is very interesting. So lovely, got water in there. So yeah, I am intrigued so far, so I'm gonna make myself a cup of tea. I've got my, that's really loud, very sorry, got my big old comfies on, and I'm gonna read a bit more. I apologise for the lighting. It is currently, I don't know, like 9:30, I think, something like that. But I have spent the afternoon, reading A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I am on page 75, chapter 8 to be precise. Here, and that's the bookmark I'm using. So we are nearly at 100 pages in, and I thought I would give you just a bit of an update on my thoughts. So I'm enjoying it. I am finding that I am struggling to put the book down, which is a good sign. I haven't really had that since I read Sooo by Madeline Miller. Yeah, so it's been a while since I've kind of had that urge to keep reading, and this definitely, it's reminding me, it's giving me the feelings, nostalgic feelings of when I was reading in my teens, probably about the time I read Throne of Glass, so between the ages of like 12 to 15, 16, I was a reading fiend. And yeah, just the feelings that I'm getting while I'm reading this book are the feelings I would get back then when I was reading similar YA fiction books like City of Bones, Cinder. It's nice. It's a nice feeling. It's not badly written at all. It's not the best written. I'm kind of like, I'm not wowed by the writing, but at the same time, like, I'm not disappointed. It's very, I don't want to say stereotypical, but I guess I am. It's very stereotypically YA at the moment. Yeah, I'm kind of waiting for it to take that turn, because I've heard it's a bit sprawnsy. Sprawnsy? I don't even know if that's a real word. Spicy. But I now know that her name is Feyre. And Feyre is now with Tamlin in his exquisite mansion of a house. She has been dragged there for killing his friend Andras. I can see, because I remember hearing this was a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and I can see the similarities of that. I've got a feeling as the book progresses we will kind of like divert from the Beauty and the Beast storyline, but at the moment I can very much see where the similarities lie between Beauty and the Beast and this, which I'm enjoying. There are certain things where I'm just a bit like, I'm hoping we're going to get an answer to that, because like, so they've just explained, or Tamlin has just explained about the fact that there's a sickness or like a plague that's kind of taken over their lands, and that's why where he currently lives, it's very barren and no one's around because they've kind of fled. And I mean, I'm kind of confused at this whole like they've had to wear these masks for the last 50 years because of this sickness. This sickness doesn't allow them to take the mask off. I don't really understand that, so I'm hoping that might be explained a bit more, because I think that just sounds a bit bizarre. I don't know if Sarah J Maas has done that to try and add a bit of mystery to like their identity and stuff and something. I don't know, that bit seems a bit odd to me, but apart from that, like, I'm enjoying it. You've got your stereotypical arsehole best friend character. What was his name again? Lucien? I'm pretty sure it's Lucien. I'm enjoying it so far, and I think I'm more enjoying it for the fact that it is giving me very nostalgic vibes of when I would read this type of genre in my teens. Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading more, and I will update you when I do that. So yeah, the fact that I've read 74 on page 75 in an evening says a lot for me, because I haven't really done that in a while. So I am enjoying it so far, and I'm looking forward to reading more, and I will update you when I do read more. Hi, I'm aware that I look like a potato, but we're going to move on from that. I thought I'd do a quick update on where I am with A Court of Thorns and Roses. I read some more last night, and I am now on page 112, chapter 13? 12 or 13? 13. Okay, so it's starting to pick up a little bit. Thoughts. What are my thoughts so far? I'm definitely warming to Lucien's character. He, reasonably so, is angry with Feyre for killing his best friend, or one of his best friends. So, you know, I'm not exactly shocked that he's not exactly the nicest to her, but I do like the dynamic that has started between Feyre and Lucien now that they go out like on patrol together, and the little kind of back and forth banter they have. Very YA, and I'd very much like that. Again, I think I said this in my update before. One of the reasons why I think I'm getting through this book quite quickly and enjoying it is because it's making me feel very nostalgic of my YA reading days, which is really, really nice. I'm not sure how I feel about Tamlin as a character, mostly because I think, and I hope people don't come for me for saying this, he is your stereotypical love interest character where he's like a bit mysterious, you don't really know much about him, and you know, it's the whole like they don't like each other but he's forcing her to be there because of the treaty. So yeah, I think it's because I still don't know much about his character, and we're only just over 100 pages in, so I'm hoping we will learn more. We are starting to learn more about him, about the fact that, you know, the current estate and stuff that he has wasn't originally meant for him. We don't know who it was meant for, like, we don't know. And then Lucien was hinting, like when they were out on one of their patrols, like Lucien and Feyre, he was hinting that like maybe there's someone watching them, like there's a her or a she that he's mentioned, and Feyre's like, who are you chatting about? Someone's feeling on edge. Why are you feeling on edge? It is definitely starting to pick up. Something that she didn't, like, there is very clear hatred between humans and the Fae, like the fairies, the Fae. And, you know, when she first, like, kills Andras. I'm gonna go with Andras. Yeah, there's very little remorse on her end for what she did, even though obviously she didn't know that the wolf that she killed was actually a fae. when she learns that it is, obviously because of the hatred between humans and fae, like there's still no remorse. But then I've just read a bit of where she basically has a dream or like a nightmare of like her killing the wolf, but instead of it being the wolf, it's him like in human form. And it's like, it's really the first time we see her have some sort of remorse for what she's done, which is interesting, and I'm hoping that's going to develop. I'm assuming that remorse will develop as her relationship with the two guys develop as well. I'm hoping, because I mean, she skinned the guy. I mean, you can see why these two men aren't exactly her favourite at the moment, but I also want to know why Tamlin didn't just kill her. Why has he decided to bring her back to Prythian? Prythian? That's how I'm going to pronounce it. That's how I'm saying it. Why did he decide to bring her back and essentially just keep her in his estate rather than avenge his friend and kill her? Why? I want to know why. And I'm hoping that gets answered. If that doesn't get answered, I will be fuming. But yeah, I'm assuming that will be answered because that's a very big question at the moment. Why did he decide to bring her back alive instead of killing her and avenging his friend? So at the moment, she's feeling a little bit remorseful for what she's done. She's slowly starting to build relationship with these guys. At the moment, more Lucien than Tamlin. She's not the biggest fan of Tamlin at the moment. I mean, I understand, like, she's been forced there, like, against her own will because of the treaty. And but then they're saying, like, her family's being provided for, so she shouldn't have to worry about getting back to... I mean, it's all a very bit... I'm really enjoying it, don't get me wrong. And I'm just hoping a lot of these kind of semi-holes and questions that I've got, I'm hoping they'll be answered. So, but there's only one way to find out. I need to read more. So that's what I'm going to do. I've had a very stressful, like, hour and a half trying to apply for student finance. And, you know, it's... Anyway, I'm gonna read a bit more of this, I think, and we will go from there. So I'm on page 120. I'm just about to finish this chapter, and it's just got me thinking, like, so she's just had like an interaction with Tamlin in the library. She's trying to teach herself how to like read and write and stuff, and he's basically gone, "Do you want any help?" And she's like not being very nice. Like, I understand that she's there against her own will. I get that, valid. But he's been, like, nothing but nice to her, really. Like, yeah, he's had a bit of an attitude at times, but you did kind of kill and skin his best friend. And you're just there, like... I don't know. She's kind of getting on my nerves a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Like, he's just trying to be nice, given the circumstances. And you're just there being short and moody with him. Again, I understand the circumstances, but at least he's trying to, like, be civil. I don't know. That's just the thoughts I'm currently having. I am very much channeling my inner Shaggy right now. Brown flares, got the green and the white shirt underneath. I think I am ready to go solve some spoopy mysteries. And this was completely unintentional. This was not planned, but here we are. Okay, my loves, so I am here to do a quick update on my progress with A Court of Thorns and Roses. I am pretty much, oh, a little bit of dust there. I'm pretty much now halfway through. I think where I last left you, I was like 100 pages in, or just over 100, and I'm now just over 200, 213. I'm on page 213, chapter 24. So, thoughts so far. I feel like the relationship between Feyre and Tamlin has jumped very suddenly. I feel like we went from Feyre absolutely despising him, not wanting to be around him, didn't even want to look at him, to all of a sudden wanting him in the space of a very short period of time. I don't know if, like, that's how I feel. I feel like it was quite sudden. I feel like we didn't really get a proper build up to them going from enemies to not lovers yet, but I'm assuming we're gonna get there. Yeah, I just feel like we could have had more between them. I feel like it could have been stretched out a bit more. I feel like we could have had some more time with them, just the two of them together. Like, we had little scenes, like little bits when it was just the two of them and they had kind of intimate moments, but I really don't feel like it was really delved into that deeply for them to then go to being like, I want you kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? I honestly feel like she has a better connection with Lucien than Tamlin at the moment. I feel like the Tamlin and Feyre relationship is feeling a little bit forced, and I feel like with Lucien it's a lot more natural and I prefer that. That's how I'm feeling at the moment. I mean, I'm hoping that will change. That might change. I have no idea, obviously, but that's how I'm kind of feeling at the moment with the relationship between Feyre and Tamlin. It's just feeling a little bit forced, a little bit rushed, but I've still got half the book to go, so I'm hoping it might, I don't know, drag out a little bit more. I like the chase, you know? I like the tension in the chase, and I feel like we haven't really got that. Or that's what Sarah J. Maas is trying to do now where I'm currently at. Like, she's currently trying to do the chase and the build up, but it's not really working for me. I am intrigued by this other character that has just been introduced. We don't know his name yet. Calanmai, the festival, the holiday of celebrating of the arrival of spring. We've just had that take place. I'm not gonna say too much. I don't want this to be super spoilery, just in case if you are watching this and you haven't read this. I'm not gonna say too much, but basically at this festival ritual thing, we are introduced to a new character. Like I said, we don't know his name, but he's quite mysterious, and according to Feyre, the most gorgeous man she's ever seen in her entire life, sorry. And by the way that he was written, I've got a feeling he's gonna be coming back. Maybe not necessarily in this book, but definitely in future books, possibly. So I'm intrigued by his character, and I'm looking forward to learning more about him, because he seemed quite intriguing, to be honest. But yeah, the sauciness that I've heard about is starting to come through a little bit now, which is exciting, I guess. Yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling at the moment. When it comes to the writing style, like, Sarah J. Maas's writing isn't revolutionary for me. I've got a hair on my nose and it's really tickling. It's very classic fantasy YA for me personally, from what I have memories of when I was reading YA fantasy back in my teen years. I'm getting very reminiscent YA fantasy vibes obviously because it is a YA fantasy. So yeah, it's not revolutionary. I'm not sat here going, oh my goodness, like her writing is completely unique and I've never read anything like it before. I'm not getting that. It's very, for me, it's a comfort read because it's very nostalgically written for me. Take that how you will, I guess. I have heard that her writing gets better as her books progress. So going into this series, I'm not gonna like judge her purely off of the first book. Like I know with The Throne of Glass, which I read, I think I mentioned this before, but I read years ago, like when it first came out, and I haven't read any of her stuff since. And I think she was 19 when she published Throne of Glass. I don't know how old she was when she published A Court of Thorns and Roses, but obviously the more you write, the more you do something, the better you get at it. So I'm hoping as the series progresses, so does her writing. It's not that I don't like her writing, it's just not groundbreaking to me. So like I'm enjoying it. It's an easy read. Like I'm kind of I haven't read a book this quickly in quite some time, which I'm enjoying. Like it's really nice to kind of just fly through a book and kind of get a little lost in it. I haven't really done that in a while, and that's something I am really enjoying about this book. Very much getting lost into the world, and I'm also getting quite excited about the world building that's slowly being introduced. It takes a little bit of time, but we are now kind of getting introduced to other areas of this world, and we're expanding outside of the spring court. We're being introduced to the autumn court, the winter court, the summer court. Is it dawn court or is it night court and day? I can't quite remember. There, hang on a minute. There is a map. Prythian, yep, and you've got fairy realms, mortal realms, and then Highburn, which I've just started to be introduced to. Yeah, you've got night court, day court, dawn court. Yeah. So I'm a sucker for a fantasy map. I'm just a sucker for it, to be honest with you. So I've just realised that this is England, and that's Ireland, and then that's mainland Europe. Pretty much. I've just realised that. England, United Kingdom, sorry. Apologies, Wales and Scotland. Yeah, I've just realised that. I don't know why that's only just clicked, but this is definitely based off the UK, Ireland, and then Europe. So yeah, so now we are starting to be introduced to more of Prythian. Oh yeah, Prythian's the whole thing, isn't it? Basically, we are being introduced to more of Prythian, not just the mortal lands and the spring court. We're slowly hearing more about the other courts of Prythian and Highburn, which is the little island just here. And I'm assuming as the series progresses, we will be expanding further through Prythian, but I'm not making judges just yet. I'm still halfway through the first book. So yes, those are my thoughts so far. When I'm about 50% way through, I am really enjoying it. It's an easy read, a relaxing read to an extent, because there are some graphic parts. What I feel is that this is a lot of groundwork. I feel like Sarah J. Maas is doing a lot of groundwork in this book to build up for the rest of the series, which is fine. You know, I'm fine with that. I'm not complaining. You know, you need foundations to build upon, you know, and I feel like this is what this book is. This book is the foundations, which, you know, you can say that about any first book in a series, to be honest with you. So I just think, you know, there are some elements that could be a little bit better. So that's my little update on where I currently stand with A Court of Thorns and Roses. I will probably read some more tonight. It's currently 4:25. I'm going to go out for a run at 6. So, and I've been reading more just before bed. So what I like to do is I like to put my phone down to the side so I'm not looking at my phone last thing, and I'll read a few chapters before going to sleep, which has been a really nice way of ending my day. So that is probably what I'll do tonight as well, and I will update you either tonight, tomorrow, I'm not too sure, but I will update you soon. So yeah. Good morning, guys. It is currently like 5 to 7 in the morning, and I've been semi-awake for about an hour. I am over halfway now. I do have thoughts. I have thoughts that I wish to share with you, but what I might do is I'm going to make myself a cup of tea, get myself some breakfast, and I want to read a little bit more, get a little bit further into it before I give you another update, because I feel like the last updates I gave you, I didn't read much further through the book, but I feel like a lot happened and a lot changed, and a lot hasn't happened since I've updated you. Gosh, I still haven't really decided how spoilery I'm going to make this reading vlog. I don't know if I want to talk about details or not, but yeah, a lot has happened. I have thoughts, but I think I'm going to read a little bit more first before then giving another update. So yeah, I'm currently at my boyfriend's. He's just left for his apprenticeship, hence why I was up at like 6 a.m. But not too bad, because today's plan is I'm going to read a little bit of this, and then maybe an hour, hour and a half, I'm going to get myself together, head back home, because I have got some serious college work that I need to crack on with. I've got exams in a few weeks that I need to start doing revision for, and I've got a 4,500 word project that I've started, but it's definitely not as progressed as it should be. So that's going to be today's plan, crack on with some of that and read a bit more of this, which is what we're going to do in a minute. So I'm going to stop rambling, I'm going to go make myself a cup of tea, I'm going to have some breakfast first, and then do a little bit of reading, morning reading, which will be quite nice. So I will update you in a bit. That literally last 3 pages that I just read were probably the best 3 pages in my opinion so far, and let me explain why. So for me, the relationship building between the characters hasn't been that strong. I feel like it's been quite rushed, quite forced. Feel like the the romance between Feyre and Tamlin, again, it's quite forced, quite rushed. I feel like one moment it wasn't there, the next it was. She had a better connection with Lucien. I mean, I knew that wasn't where the romance was going. Like, I knew it wasn't going to I knew it wasn't going to be between Feyre and Lucien, but I do feel like their dynamic was much better than Feyre and Tamlin's. However, that's just a quick thought on those three. But the last 3 pages I just read was an interaction between Feyre and her sister Nesta, and that is what I'm here for. The growth that Feyre and her relationship with her family has gone through within the last 10 pages has been better relationship character growth for me than the first 200 pages between Feyre and any other characters in this book so far. I just thought that was wonderful. The kind of silent understanding she now has between her and her sister Nesta, and that kind of bond that they now share, I think that's beautiful. And I really enjoyed that, and I've grown on Nesta's character. Didn't like her at first, for obvious reasons if you have read this book, but after reading kind of that, the last few interactions that we've had with her, she's really grown on me. She's just like a badass that does not take crap from anybody, and I'm here for it. That was really good. And also that mini shock that I had as well. Like, at first I was a bit like, why is Feyre so bothered by this? And then I realised why she was so bothered by the certain event that happened. Now she's heading back to the Spring Court. We love it. We're here for it. So I am hoping the rest of the book is going to be similar to what I've just read, because that was kind of the first time that I've kind of sat there and gone, crumbs, okay, like, it's starting to pick up. I feel like it is now finally starting to pick up. So I'm going to finish this chapter and then I'm going to start getting ready to head back home, because I need to stop procrastinating with this college work. So I will see you in a bit. Hey guys, apologies for this. It's been a bit of a long week. I'm very aware that I'm very shiny, and you know, the acne is out and about, but we're dealing with it. I just wanted to give a super quick update on A Court of Thorns and Roses. I read a chapter last night, and a lot of questions were answered in that specific chapter. Spoiler warning, because I need to download this really quick. So I was saying previously how, you know, the blight and this curse that's kind of going over Prythian and the Spring Court and all that, I was very confused by it all, and I didn't really quite understand it, and I thought it was just like a little bit like there was something not right about it. Well, it turns out the blight doesn't really exist. It's not an illness or a sickness that's taken over the land. It's a fairy, it's a fae, it's a woman. I generally don't know how to pronounce her name. Amarantha. So I now know about this woman. And she doesn't sound very nice at all. She actually sounds like a little bit of a savage. And in the last chapter that I read, Alice, or Alice, again, I'm not too sure, Alice, basically explains everything to Feyre, explains how the blight isn't really a thing. It's this Amarantha fae woman who has come over from Highburn. Pretty sure she came over from Highburn, didn't she? I think, if I remember correctly, with her sister. And they were obviously horrible to humans, had them as slaves, slaughtered them, you know, the drill. But then obviously her sister falls in love with a human, but this human was using her sister for information about the Fae, and when he finally got the information he wanted, he brutally kills her sister, which obviously then sends her on like a rampage, which don't get me wrong, I completely understand. Like, if somebody brutally murdered someone I loved dearly, I too would go on a rampage. I'm not blaming her for that one. So I now know that the blight isn't a sickness or illness. It's this crazy woman fairy queen who just wants to own the whole entire world, and she's planning to take over the human world as well. Brilliant, great. And she just sounds like a little bit of a savage and not a very nice fae. We're getting lots of she likes to torture for fun. That doesn't sound great. She's been sending out horrible fairies to kind of like into the human world and to attack humans. Again, not great. So yeah, I feel like the second half of the book picks up a lot. I feel like the first 50% of the book is kind of slow pace, a little bit of character building. I wouldn't say there's a lot of like relationship building. I think I said previously I feel like that was quite rushed, but character building, I feel like there is definitely that in the first half of the book. And then you literally hit like 50% of the book and then it's like bam bam bam, we've got love interests and we've got a spicy scene and we've got more world building. We're introduced to other courts. We're not just hearing about the Spring Court anymore, we're introduced to the other courts, and we hear about Highburn, and then we are introduced to Amarantha and her whole backstory and the real reason of the blight and why the Spring Court were like stuck in masks the whole time. Like, we learn more about that as well and why that was a thing, and the fact that that masquerade ball was all set up as like a trap. There's a lot to unload. But it's picking up. I'm very much enjoying it. And I think I'm going to read a little bit more now, or in a bit, but I just basically wanted to give an update about the fact that I've learned a lot more and it's really picking up and I'm enjoying it, and I cannot wait to see where it goes. I feel like I could finish this in the next day or so. Update over. I will see you in the next clip, whether that be with an update or it could possibly be with a finished overall opinion conclusion, because I can see me finishing this pretty quickly. So yeah, I will see you in the next clip. Hello my loves, so we are here, we've done it, we did it, we made it. I have now officially finished A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Let's discuss. I have written down my thoughts and feelings about the book so I didn't forget anything. So, oh, should I put my twinkly lights on? It's a bit better, isn't it? Get some colour in here. So overall, I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. I don't really know where to start. I know this book and this series in general is very loved and very highly praised. And I haven't actually watched a lot of videos or read a lot of reviews around the first book because I really didn't want to spoil anything for me. So when it comes to the general overall rating, 3 out of 5 stars for me means that I did really enjoy it. It was like a nice easy read. I would read more from the author / series, but it wasn't to the point of like super emotionally provoking, as in I didn't have lots of physically emotional reactions to it. So there weren't moments where I like burst out in tears or burst out in laughter or anything like that, which it's not a bad thing. So yeah, 3 out of 5 stars. Let's get into the plot of acotar. So I'm going to read what I've written down and then I'll just elaborate. I liked the setting at the beginning before Feyre is taken to the Spring Court. Feel like it's the only time we see Feyre as a huntress. Don't really see that again till later in the book. Okay, so I really like how the book started, how Sarah J Maas kind of introduces you to Feyre, our main character, and the world of Pythian. See, I was doing this throughout the freaking, yeah, Pythian. So yeah, the way she kind of introduces the world, introduces our main character, I really liked. I liked the mysteriousness in the first chapter. We don't find out Feyre's name until the second chapter, I believe. So kind of that mystery surrounding Feyre, especially, you know, on the back, like, well, we know her name from the back, but the fact that, say, if you didn't read the back, you wouldn't know her name. It's just, I thought it was a nice, mysterious way of introducing us to Feyre. It kind of set the scene of the type of character she is, you know, the huntress, the lone wolf kind of vibe that I was getting, and I really liked that, and I liked that introduction to her. Before, and that is all before Feyre is taken to the Spring Court. This isn't a spoiler because it literally says it on the blurb, but basically when Feyre kills the wolf that turns out to be a fairy or a fae, she is then taken to basically kind of work out, or like live out her sentence in the fairy realm in the Spring Court with Tamlin. Pre-Spring Court, really liked Feyre's character, definitely got the huntress vibes, the lone wolf, the independent lone survivor, provides for the family, you know, strong female character. I definitely got those vibes. Pre-Spring Court, we get to the Spring Court where we see, obviously she then now meets Tamlin and Lucien and some other characters, and I feel like we lose that part of her. Like there are moments in the book where you can see where Sarah J Maas is trying to remind you of the independence and the strength of Feyre, but I do think it's a little lost in between Sarah J Maas's attempt, I don't want to say attempt, but Sarah J Maas's intent to build Feyre's relationship with Tamlin. So we kind of do lose Feyre's independence a little bit. So I do feel like we lose Feyre a little bit in the middle portion of the book. Yes, I've written here, the middle of the book slows down as Sarah J Maas tries to use this time to build the relationship between the characters. I feel like the romance between Feyre and Tamlin wasn't as developed as I would have liked. I feel like we could have had more scenes with them where Feyre maybe starts to question her feelings for him, etc. I feel like we went from Feyre completely despising Tamlin because the fact that he's a fairy and he's essentially kidnapped her and he's forcing her to stay at the Spring Court and it's taken her away from her family, to being in love with him. I feel like that bridge wasn't really constructed as thoroughly as it could have been. Much like kind of when I was saying about Feyre's huntress side, we do have small moments with her and Tamlin where you see them interacting, and that's obviously meant to be moments when their relationship evolves and they start to go from hating each other to liking each other. But I just don't feel like I got the intended build-up. I feel like it just kind of went from, he's a fae, I'm a human, we hate each other, I'm forced to be here with him even though he's kind of cute, to what does she call him, like my high lord, something like that. I feel like there was just, the build up was quite short and I would have liked it to be a little bit more prolonged. I like the friendship created between Feyre and Lucien. Yes, so we'll get, like I said, I'll get into characters in a bit, but I really like the friendship between Feyre and Lucien. I feel like that had better build up than the relationship between Feyre and Tamlin. I knew from the get-go that Lucien was not the love interest, and that didn't bother me. Like, I knew he was the best friend character. But yeah, I feel like we had better interactions between Feyre and Lucien compared to Feyre and Tamlin. As a whole, I really liked their friendship and their dynamic. Past the 50% point, the plot really picks up, more characters are introduced, the action picks up, the world building is expanded on, and the ending leaves a good bridge to the next book. Once you get past the 50% point, like I just said, it really picks up. I really enjoyed the pacing. I really enjoyed the characters that then are introduced. I feel like we get a bit of Feyre back. There's especially, spoiler if you are watching this and you haven't read the book yet, but especially when Feyre goes to Under the Mountain to try and get Tamlin back, and she has to do these trials for I can never say, Amarantha, doing her trials and stuff, and seeing that, again, survival side of Feyre, I really enjoyed. And I feel like that was lost in the middle. So getting that back at the end was really nice to see. We get introduced to the character, I've forgotten his name, that's really annoying, because he's like one of my favourites. Rhysand. More of the second half of the book, we see a lot more of Rhysand. I think it's Rhysand. That's how I've been kind of saying it in my head. And I really like his character. He is the classic kind of, you know, on the outside he is dark and evil, and he's like the antagonist in a way, or he's part of the antagonist crew, but then it, again, spoiler, turns out he's actually one of the good guys. He had good intentions all along. Classic trope, but I feel like that was something that was done really well in this book, and I thoroughly enjoyed reading scenes with Rhysand in. The relationship between Rhysand and Feyre, I get the feeling will be expanded on as the series progresses, because obviously of the contract deal that they've made. Amarantha, I am apologising right now if I am pronouncing that wrong, because I keep wanting to say Samantha or like Amanda, but it's not. It's like a weird combination of the two. Amarantha. As she is kind of the big bad in this, and we do not get introduced to her again until about 50% of the way into the book. As the antagonist, how do I feel about Amarantha? I liked her. I didn't dislike her. She's not the most villainous antagonist that I've read about in YA fantasy. I was very much intrigued by her backstory, and I feel like there is more. Despite what has happened in this book, I do not think we've actually seen the last of her, or at least her story. I think there is more to be said, more to be revealed, at least I hope, because I'm still very much intrigued into that side of this plotline. And I feel like she wasn't given enough time in this book particularly. One, be introduced and then developed as a villain. She was a very, if she isn't brought back, basically, if Amarantha isn't brought back, then she is a very short-lived villain. And I know we've got the king across the sea in Highburn. I know we've got the King of Highburn, and he's like another big bad that he will obviously come into play in the series. But yeah, I feel like Amarantha wasn't given enough time to kind of shine in this book. I kind of smoothly kind of went from plot to characters by talking about Rhysand and Amarantha, so we'll just keep going with that. Let's talk about Feyre a little bit. So I've written here, I liked her at the start and the independence that she showed when it came to wanting to protect her family. She was your stereotypical YA fantasy female main character, but not necessarily a bad thing. Yeah, I think I touched on that before. Kind of your classic, we've got some very classic YA fantasy tropes in this book, but that isn't a complaint, because if that's what you're looking for, if that's what you want to read, then you will definitely get that in this book. Yeah, as a main character overall, I did enjoy Feyre. I enjoyed reading about her. There were moments where she got on my nerves a little bit, but not to the point of affecting my enjoyment of the book, and I got over those moments very quickly. So yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing how her character develops over the series as well. Moving on to Tamlin. I don't actually have much to say about Tamlin. This is what I've written down. I've written stereotypical love interest, didn't dislike him but wasn't overly wooed by him either, which made why Feyre's love for him cliche. So yeah, as a love interest, you know, I feel like you as the reader should be just as invested in them as the main character. And I just wasn't with Tamlin. Like, it's not that I didn't like him or didn't necessarily care about him, but I wasn't exactly, like, when I saw his name on the page, get all excited and giddy and happy at the fact that it was him that I was reading about, or when Feyre would go on about him, or there'll be moments of Feyre talking or thinking about him, I just was like, yeah, okay. He was just average to me. He was just an average love interest, and I feel like he could have done with a bit more spice. But when I say spice, I don't mean spice. I mean like depth. I feel like we didn't get much depth from Tamlin. Despite kind of learning quite a bit about his past and like how he got to be where he is today, I still feel like we didn't get much depth from him as a character. So again, I'm hoping in future books that will be expanded on or yeah, worked on. And then for Lucien, I wrote, really liked him, classic best friend character, hope to see more of him in future books. I mean, that sentence kind of says it all really, and I've kind of again already explained why I liked Lucien so much. Classic best friend character. I loved the dynamic. I loved the dynamics that was built upon between him and Feyre. I also kind of liked the friendship that was shown between him and Tamlin, because he is obviously Tamlin's best friend. But now we're going to go on to the writing style. So this is what I've written about the writing style. A good start to the series, pacing didn't always feel consistent but had some really good points. Slow build up at the beginning but then really picks up in the second half. Classic YA fantasy writing style. I hope as the series goes on we get to see more of Sarah J. Maas's own style and uniqueness as a writer. Overall, not revolutionary but not disappointing. So to kind of expand on my comments there a little bit. So I've talked a lot already about the pacing, how I found it quite slow at the start, but it really picks up once you kind of get into the second half of the book, that I really enjoyed that. I didn't necessarily not like the first half of the book. It was a lot slower paced and I liked it when it picked up a lot more. But I do completely understand that obviously the first half of a first book, you've got a lot of character introduction, world building, you've got to set scenes and all that jazz. So yeah, not a massive complaint. Like, it didn't overly hinder my reading experience, just something that's just how I felt. So yeah, it is your very classic YA fantasy. You could easily bung this in with your Mortal Instruments and that kind of, you know, vibe. If you're going for that vibe, then you will enjoy this book. Classic YA writing style. If you're looking for a YA, if you liked, for example, like the Mortal Instruments series, you will most likely enjoy this. It's got all the YA fantasy tropes that you would want. It's not a honker of a book either. It can get through this reasonably quickly. It's not too difficult to read. It is quite an easy read. The language that is used isn't language that's going to go over your head. Yeah, definitely a classic YA fantasy. And then for Sarah J. Maas's writing, I kind of feel like because it's so classic YA fantasy, we don't really get to see her uniqueness within this book. Because she's so busy establishing the world and the characters, it's like she really wants you to know it's YA fantasy. There isn't anything revolutionary about this book. There isn't anything that I haven't read before. And I feel like Sarah J. Maas not necessarily did it on purpose, but she really wants those foundations to be laid. And to kind of show the reader, look, this is a YA fantasy. If this is what you want, this is what you're gonna get. And again, not necessarily a bad thing, but I do kind of wish I saw a bit more individuality and uniqueness within the writing. I feel like I've read this, not this necessarily, I haven't read this before, but you know, I've read similar stuff before. There wasn't anything new or revolutionary that kind of jumped out or stood out to me. So I kind of hope that as the story progresses and it kind of starts taking its own course, we will start to see some more of her individuality. And I mean, that's not, you probably have that with any author that's writing a first book in the series, because the first book in the series, obviously they want the reader to then want to read more of the series. And that's when you can get kind of a little bit, not experimental per se, but once you've established an audience that will want to read the rest of the series, you then have more freedom to kind of do what you want with your writing, with your characters and story and so on. So I feel like as a first book to a series, it does everything it needs to do. It establishes the characters, it establishes the world, builds the relationships that it needs to build to then go on and continue with the story. All in all, as a first book to a series, I very much enjoyed it, and I think it sets up the rest of the series very nicely. I mean, to the point where I want to read more. I want to know what happens to these characters now. I want to know where the story is going to go. I want to know more of Prythian. I want to know more of Highburn. I want to know more about the human realm and the characters that reside there. I want to know how Feyre's family are doing, and you know, there is so much more to discover, and this book does a very good job at wanting me to discover them. So those are my thoughts and feelings, and that was my journey of reading A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you have stuck through this whole video, I very much appreciate it. I appreciate you being here and your support. I do plan to continue this reading vlog series of reading this series. Right now I am in the midst of exam season, so I might not be reading as much as I would like, and I know these books get bigger, so yeah, I am aware of that, so I might not get through the series as quickly as I would like, but I do plan to continue with this series and to document my thoughts and feelings on it. So I would love and appreciate it if you would stick around and join me for when that happens. That is kind of everything for today, you guys. Again, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Have you read this series? If so, let me know, and let me know what you thought. And if you haven't read it, do you want to, or do you think you're going to? Again, let me know. I would love to hear in the comments below. But yeah, that is everything. I keep repeating myself, so I'm going to wrap this up now. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your spring. Summer is fast approaching and I cannot wait, because I'm going to have so much more time to read once my exams are over and once my course is finished. Oh, it's going to be good. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!